Hello, many of you remember me from the YouTube channel Terra of the Milky Way. My name is DuFay. I did a previous video and uploaded it on this new channel, but I'm going to kind of remind everybody that I'm not going to allow comments and I'm not going to take a subscriber count. I know most of the comments I had previously on that channel, Terra of the Milky Way, which I deleted. YouTube had nothing to do with it. But it just got too much with the comments. Again, most of them are extremely positive, and I know that many of you have love towards all this, and I love you as well. But the thing is people were popping up links to porn sites and all kinds of things. It was just getting too much. It's ridiculous, and YouTube seems to be really just, I don't know, going down the tubes. Again, I'm not a Trump supporter or anything, and I don't get political on the previous channel or this channel, but you know, they shouldn't cut freedom of speech from anybody. You know, YouTube, they took David Icke, my favorite guy, off and everything, and they seem to be manipulating the channels, mine included. I've seen it in action. You know, it's just amazing, and I've had many of you tell me that you did never unsubscribe, but yet you had to resubscribe and things like that. So it's like YouTube's got control over everything, and it just got too much, and I just deleted it all. But I do still feel the need to talk about it, the Mandela effect, and what it's revealing, not, you know, for the sake of my own sanity, somebody to talk to, because we have to remember that most of the people around us still have the original portion of their soul that they were born with. So to them, nothing's different whatsoever. And it appeared, you know, obviously we were here, always here, but there was just another portion of your soul in this replica version of yourself. And the soul portion that you'll always have with your memories is just, seems to be, you know, fluxing into other replica versions of ourselves. It seems to be pretty frequent. I've noticed on maps and globes and things like that, drastic differences in South America. I noticed, which is unheard of, Chile actually extends to the southern tip of South America and actually has a portion of the east coast of the southern tip of South America, which is unheard of. I've never, Argentina is always, even on these Orion Dwarf Earths, is always the southernmost tip of South America. But here it's actually shared with Chile. It's crazy. Plus, like I said, you know, so obviously we keep shifting into these replica versions of ourselves. And what's that trying to tell us? You know, it's not something that happened by mistake. It's obviously was meant to happen. And I personally, you know, many of you know that I firmly believe that it's obviously to reveal things, the things that have always been yet never known. Like I was just thinking, it wasn't supposed to rain today here in southwest Michigan, but here it just got done pouring for 30 minutes. You know, it seems like the weather forecasts are so bad. And I actually recall in the reality, I remember the one this portion of my soul originated from on the outer reaches of the Sagittarius arm on a Sagittarius super Earth, that they were getting pretty, you know, keyed in and very accurate with weather forecasts, but they can't even get the same day correct in these forecasts. It's even thundering. Maybe you can hear it, but it was a lot worse before. And literally, I looked at AccuWeather for this town, South Haven, Michigan. There was 0 chance of rain all day, and here it is, midday, pouring like crazy. You know, they used to. In the reality, I remember they actually started getting very accurate, upwards of 7 to 10 days in the forecast. Here they can't, like I said, they can't even. So it got me to wondering, you know, obviously the weather forecasters have a parallel existence just like all life does. All life on Earth. That's why we see this, for the most part, the same trees and things like that. But the forecasters have this parallel existence, and they have counterparts, replica versions of themselves that have been sharing their soul since they were born, doing the same job on totally different Earths. Of course, the weather's parallel too. It's remarkable. If you look at the historic weather events, they seem to have happened on every single Earth in every reality. So everything's parallel for the most part. Now we know there's hiccups and things, But for the most part, things like that are parallel to the extreme. So with these weather forecasters unwittingly connected subconsciously, constantly with their other replica versions of themselves, maybe things happen here on these Orion Dwarf Earths because they are much smaller and time is 50% faster, and there are vast distances involved of upwards of 75,000 light years. So no doubt that, those replica versions of the forecasters somehow get insight and that subconscious connection, that it's going to rain today. So they put it, it's like they get a leg up, if you will, and they're totally unaware of it. And that could be why the forecast seems to be more accurate on the Sagittarius super Earths that are, 75,000 light years from here. But yet we know, because of what the Mandela effect's revealing, that we are constantly connected with all the replica versions of ourselves. We're totally unaware of it. And for the most part, especially in my case, everything is identical to the extreme. Every replica version of myself made the exact same decisions that I made. And I see no variation whatsoever. All the family members that are living or have passed on is exactly the same. My realities are virtually identical, virtually. And it's quite amazing. Except for, of course, the geography, which we're going to see variations and differences because the Earths are varying in size. But yet the important thing to remember is they're all unusually similar looking. That's the really amazing thing. Just like the solar system, just like the night sky, everything is parallel. Even the constellations, from atoms to constellations, are parallel, thereby quantum entangled. Always. That's what life is. We wouldn't even be able to breathe if we weren't quantumly entangled. I don't even know if quantumly is a word, but quantum entangled with who knows how many replica versions of ourselves that are sharing our fractured and splintered soul. And I always get arguments that, that I'm an individual. I don't have other replica versions of myself. You have to realize that this makes us individual to the extreme. Think about that. There are individual replica versions of yourself throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to even think about it. And again, most of the people around us still have their original soul portions there. They don't know. So when you talk to them, they think you're crazy. That's why, I do this YouTube channel, so I have somebody to talk to. Even if nobody watches the videos, it's still good therapy for me to talk about it. And I always have this moral obligation to put what I believe is happening and what I believe I'm experiencing on public record. And again, I never claim that I have all the answers. Nobody gave me the answers. To me, it's very obvious what the Mandela effect's revealing and why it perhaps is happening, to reveal things that have always been, things that refuse to be discussed. Science is getting close into understanding this quantum entanglement, but they seem to always think it's limited to atoms, and they forget the very obvious fact that every human body, even inanimate objects, are made up of millions of atoms. And if every atom is in this quantum world, well, then of course we are. And it's very important to realize too that our realities are not separated by dimensions. They're not. They're separated by distance, vast distances in some cases. Obviously, I'm fully aware that there's a replica version of myself because I came from there. This portion of my soul came from there. 75,000 light years from here, doing the exact same thing I am, but on a super Earth. And I firmly believe that replica version of myself, along with the Earth, is still there, with the things going as they are here. But there's just another portion of my soul in that replica, or that, I don't even want to say original version of myself, because every version of yourself is original. Think about that. It's this quantum entanglement with all these other versions of yourself it's what life is all about. Think about it. It's incredible what the Mandela effect's revealing. And now we have a better understanding of why we have deja vu. If you felt like you walked into that room before, but yet you never did, well, then the reality of it is you did. Another replica version of yourself that you've been constantly connected with on a subconscious level constantly did, perhaps a few seconds before you did, in their reality. And we're unaware of this link with all these other versions of ourselves that have been sharing our soul since the day we were born. We're just oblivious of it. But yet things like Deja Vu prove that that's exactly what's happening. And another one of my things that proves that this is what's happening and the way life has always been is the fact that we get jet lag. Our brains don't, and soul doesn't know that we're traveling across man-made time zones. We have to remember that human beings invented time. This is proven again by the Mandela effect. The super Earths are 50% slower there, but yet time remains the same. It's incredible. If it didn't remain the same, if it was actual thing, space and time, then I would have been 90 some years old on this Earth already. But that's not the case. I'm the exact same age, exact same size, exact same weight, so on and so forth, same reality, But again, getting back to the jet lag, I mean, it proves. Again, we have no idea. But why do we get jet lag when we reach a destination that's hundreds of miles away that we took on a plane that goes 500 miles an hour? Why do it doesn't happen when we drive, only because it's a much slower speed. But the reason with the jet lag is because of the geography of the Earth. So I know the Sagittarius super Earth, where this portion of my soul originated, it's 3,500 miles from New York to LA. Here it's 2,500 miles. So if you take that flight from New York to LA, every replica version of yourself is going to leave the departure point at the same time, and every version of yourself is going to arrive at the arrival point at varying times, in some cases several hours. Until all your soul portions in the replica versions of yourself on any particular Earth are settled into the motel and everything's, you're not gonna get rid of that sensation of jet lag. Again, the Mandela effect is revealing these things. Why we get jet lag. Nobody can figure it out. We know why, because we're affected with the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect equals knowledge. That's the name of this channel, because basically that's what it is. And again, I'm not claiming to have the truth or anything, or to know everything. But to me, it is obvious, as plain as the hand in front of my face. I mean, it's super obvious. And you start eliminating things that are impossible. It's impossible for the Earth's geography to change, let alone its size, to go from 24,800 miles in circumference, like these Orion Dwarf Earths are, to upwards of 64,000 miles in circumference. It's not going to change that much overnight in a blink of an eye. It's impossible. These things are impossible. We have to remember that things are not changing. They're just different. It's as simple as that. And once you realize that, it's remarkable. The kind of insight you get from now on. Basically, every argument can be answered by this theory that we all have a parallel existence on a multitude of Earths, all within this one dimension, separated by distance. Let's face it, there's tons of room in this Milky Way galaxy. It exceeds 500 light years across, and then some. Many of us remember the Milky Way galaxy being much grander looking. Well, that's because the astrophysicists and the artists that do the rendering, the artwork of the Milky Way galaxy, have a much clearer view of the galaxy out there. Their counterparts, their replica versions of themselves that they've been sharing their souls since the day they were born, in this close to the galactic center on the Orion spur, or Orion inner arm, have a much dimmer view of the galaxy. So the galaxy as we remember it really is what it is. They just can't see. In fact, they're basically taking educated guesses in here, and that's only because they're linked, unconsciously linked, and they're thereby being totally oblivious to it, with their other replica versions of themselves, where they do have a clear view of the Milky Way galaxy. So it's amazing, to see, when you see astrophysicists, my favorite, as I brought up in many previous videos, that Michio Kaku, my favorite astrophysicist, I watched him a dozen times in the reality I recall, talking about our location in the Milky Way galaxy, which is clearly on the outer reaches of the Sagittarius arm. In fact, it was actually almost escaping the galaxy. But I remember him clearly saying that we couldn't exist, say, this close, and ironically pointing to this area of the galaxy, this sector of the galaxy on the Orion Spur, some 26,000 light years from the center of the galaxy, saying, and because of that, that we couldn't possibly exist in there. And it's really amazing. And I've seen the same astrophysicist and another replica version of himself in this reality saying the same thing, but completely opposite. Completely opposite, saying that we wouldn't want to live out in the outer reaches, and ironically pointing out on where we are, little does he know he's there as well, but saying we couldn't exist out there. It's uninhabitable simply because of the frozen wasteland out there. To some extent, that's true, because the Earths out there, the Sagittarius super Earths out there, have massive ice caps on them. And actually, I recall my reality that this portion of my soul originated from, that there was a continent up there called Antarctica, but under several miles of ice. And that tundra reached way into Canada, and Hudson Bay was completely frozen year round. But so it is in a sense colder, but it was still very extremely habitable out there, obviously, and it's habitable in here as well. So we know more than astrophysicists. Think about it, just by experiencing the Mandela effect. I always like to bring that point out. We know more than most people who've gone to college for 8 years. I feel sorry for all those people that are being told, the Big Bang Theory and how everything's premised around that, things like that. And the Mandela effect's proving the complete opposite. That there, all kinds of things. That gravity does not rule; it's electrical, the universe, things like that. And our souls are quantumly entangled with other portions of it. It's just amazing. It's just showing us that life is a million times more incredible than we could have ever imagined. And that's what I thoroughly believe the Mandela effect was intended to do intentionally. But of course, those forces out there that do exist, that are in opposition, who are in power, are going to cover this up as much as they can and make it a sinister event and try to take credit for it and things like that, when nothing could be further from the truth. But of course, they're allowed to do this, so it's up to us. Again, if you take this positive attitude, all of a sudden everything becomes very logical and becomes very clear. Again, it's all about perspective and attitude and being very positive. If you're going to be negative about it and be upset about this and be homesick and things, you don't need to. Because what's the reason for being homesick? This is your home. You were always here. It's just another portion of your soul was in this version of yourself, this replica version of yourself, a duplicate replica version of yourself. Of course, the body's this different from Earth to Earth, well, mostly between Sagittarius super Earths on the outer reaches and these Orion Dwarf Earths. Our bodies are drastically different, mostly internal. And yet another proof that this is what's happening, because it's impossible for our body to completely change overnight. I recall in the reality this portion of my soul originated from, that all males had a missing rib. Therefore, I used to, it used to really amaze me, because I'm like, wow, maybe there is something to the creation story where Adam gave up his rib, things like that, But yet here, that's not the case. In fact, the ribs, most of them are connected to the sternum. When I first felt that, I was shocked and amazed, like, oh my God, this is, that just makes it more real. Again, it's impossible for our body to morph into something completely different overnight. The location of the heart and size doesn't change overnight. It's impossible. But yet here we are, and yet we recall something completely different. So what else could it be? This is just simply another reality that has always existed since the beginning of creation. You notice how I say since the beginning of creation, and I don't say since the beginning of time, because the Mandela effect's revealing that time and space is irrelevant. Again, because the Earths are on different calibrated times because of their size, and they rotate at the same speed off their axis, thereby smaller Earths to times faster, larger Earths to times are much slower. That's why we see better detail in movies and things like that, because the movie lengths and production is the same, but yet they have to cut corners somewhere, and they cut them on, quality of things here. Quality of most everything is a lot less on these Orion Dwarf Earths. There's so many paradoxes about them. Again, it's just absolutely remarkable what this is all revealing. So I'm going to hang it up for now, and I thank you for watching, and we'll talk at you later. Love you.